You're listening to the Marginally Geeky Show, the epically geeky book.
Greetings and welcome to the Marginally Geeky Show, the epically geeky book club. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight, I am joined by most of the normal crew. How are y'all doing?
Excellent.
Great.
Excellent, good. It's been a little while since we've talked. We took a month off because school and life and reasons. We'll just reasons, lots and lots of reasons.
Yeah.
So how's everyone been doing? Anything of interest been happening?
Good. I had to shave. But
Yeah, we just had a conversation about that kind of stuff.
Last night we did an episode of Sustainably Geeky, and
I joined in.
he joined in
Oh,
because
good.
Jen had invited an EV expert. His name's Buzz. I don't remember his last name, but he's such a good speaker.
I wish
We're
we
frozen. Oh, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
You're unfrozen now.
Okay, but he was he talked for like an hour and a half. It was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, about EVs, and it.
I wish we would have talked to him 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago, or we would have bought an EV, for sure. Yeah.
Well, okay.
It was awesome.
I know what an EV is, but for those of us who don't know what an EV is,
An electric vehicle.
got it.
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of the Sustainably Geeky, it has been uploaded. It is basically we're just waiting for iTunes and everyone to put it out there, and it'll be ready to go. So I'm hoping by Friday, when this probably drops, that you'll also be able to get that goodness on the network as well. So
Sweet.
it's happening. So
Cool.
well, I got to go read to my boys' first grade class today. We had a parent-teacher conference, and the teacher mentioned that parents were encouraged to come read to the kids. So I asked if she wanted me to come read or if she wanted Ghostbuster to come read. And, of course, she opted for Ghostbuster. So I donned my gear and showed up and got to read to some first graders today and had a blast. It was a lot of fun. So
That's cool.
Did you read them Goosebumps?
actually, I read them the Ghostbusters Little Golden Book. So
All right.
yeah, as Lainey would say, staying on brand. So
Who? Sorry, who?
she's this woman we used to know. Don't worry about it. So
Okay.
It's
oh,
better.
just gonna keep harassing her till it happens. This month's book, I don't remember who suggested this one.
I thought it was you.
Definitely wasn't me.
Jen did?
I think
Maybe
so.
Jen, yeah. And of course she wasn't able to make it. She's been she has been all over the country the last 3 weeks. Like the woman is on the move. So
She's driven and
She's been on-
far enough that she could have come here.
She said she's been on 10 different planes in the last 17 days.
yeah, it's been insane. So, so needless to say, she wasn't able to make it tonight. But hopefully she'll be back for the next one. But in any case, the book that we decided to read was. Now we had just finished 5. Really funny books, and we got to talk with the authors, so we thought maybe we'd go a little more hardcore, so we just went with this simple little book, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson. As I mentioned to the group before the show, I didn't take a lot of notes on this just because the type of book, it doesn't really go well with that, so it's going to be kind of a loose conversation. That being said, this book covers a lot of stuff. Quite literally, this book starts with the beginning of time. So
It covers everything in the universe.
And that is that's not a stretch by any means.
No.
So that being said, usually we start off with, kind of what your overall thoughts on the book were. So we'll go ahead and start with that. Ray, what was your overall thought reading the book?
You Well, tell him.
Come on. You know what? I enjoyed it. There were parts where it was difficult to follow along because I was driving. So it was like go back and try and re-listen to a couple things. And we'd actually started listening to this
last year.
Last year, driving down to Texas.
Yes.
Okay.
And
we got like a half a chapter in.
It got a little too deep for somebody, and they were afraid of falling asleep. So
okay.
We decided not to listen to that one anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I enjoyed it. It's a great book. You can tell the passion that Neil has because he does read it as an Audible for Audible, which is great. I like that he tries to explain it as simply as possible, which is nice. So, yeah, it was good overall. I enjoyed it.
Good deal, Chris.
Oh dear. I have come to accept this part of myself that my brain does not get mathematical and physics science. It just doesn't compute with me. That being said, I'm just impressed with humanity as a whole that we've managed to figure out so much of our universe and can figure out that there are people that can figure out what happened right at the very beginning and timelines and things like that. Like, I'm just so impressed by that part. A lot of it went over my head. I think if I had, I listened to it. So a lot of it I kind of gapped out a little bit and then come back and be like, oh, I just missed 5 minutes.
So it was a better setting for trying to listen to all this. But it reminded me, in college, I took an astronomy course, and there was just this moment where the professor kind of like made me understand how small we are. And it was just this huge realization. And that's like the point he was trying to make in this book. And you forget how tiny we are.
I enjoyed it. I actually listened to it twice. It's one of those things that I was able to listen to it while I was doing like mindless type work. That was fine because, I could just keep doing whatever it is I was doing while listening, trying to absorb. If I tried doing anything that took a little bit of thought, it just didn't jive because there's a lot of information like you said there. And he said, the book is written, this is a, hey, listen, this is what my job is. This is what astrophysics is. If you find this interesting, this is a springboard into the deep stuff. So, but yeah, it is well written. It's definitely as accessible, I think, as you're going to get for this topic. So, with that said, I guess let's just go ahead and kind of start getting into the conversation. I went and took down all of the chapter titles. So, we can just kind of run through some of those and stuff. So like we said, the book literally starts, the first chapter is the greatest story ever told. And it's literally the beginning of time. And it goes through and it talks about, literally the idea, the current idea is that all of matter, all of the universe was like, not even the size of a period on a page, and within microseconds literally explodes. And within, I think he says like we're get like, a few seconds in and stuff's already cooling down and starting to form and everything else. And it's just a lot of heavy stuff.
But I think it's so cool that it's actually something that they can measure and calculate, that you could actually, that they have figured out equations to figure this crap out. I mean, it's amazing.
Where everything's coming from. Yeah.
It's just awesome. All right, Brainiac.
No.
He also brings up the fact that, a lot of people, well, then of course, the next question is, well, then what was before that? And it's like, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
And right now there's no way of knowing, but at some point, we can ask those questions, but does it really matter? Like, to me, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's like, okay, well, if there was something before here, I mean, because that's when you start getting, that's where the mind fuck comes in, is like, well, what was here before then? Was there anything? Is it possible that there was always something?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a time where there was never anything? It's, yeah. And that's when you start like, all right, well, I need some heavy drugs for this.
See, but that's the part that fascinates me. I love that we can figure all this stuff out, and the things that were based in mostly facts. I like that part. It's the imagination that you have to have of what came prior to that. That's the part that fascinates me. Like, was it the implosion of our universe exploding again? Right, there is that theory. So that, you know, are we in a time? You know, is there this circle where we're constantly going through multiple different versions of this, or is it stuck in its own loop where it just constantly expands and then contracts and explodes again? Right, like there's lots of different out there. Is that's what excites me, is the unknown part of it. He gets into that as well with the we assume that the shape of the universe is circular because that's what makes the most sense. But beyond that, what is next to it? And, you know, we think there's got to be something out there. So maybe it is multiple universes. Maybe it's, you know, different timelines, whatever you want to.
Multiple dimensions.
Multiple dimensions, all sorts of things. And we get into gravity and all that other stuff. We still don't even understand gravity. So it's, yeah.
Gravity is such okay, and
we'll get into
I love the way they try to visualize and explain it in Interstellar, because gravity, the effect of gravity on time, is such a mind screw for me. Because, you know, unfortunately, you know, we are three-dimensional. You know, we are three-dimensional beings, and we can experience, you know, we experience time, but we have no control over it. And the idea that time can slow down and expand, and does slow down and expand, depending on gravitational waves and, you know, densities and everything else, is just, it's crazy to me. I mean, you know, people started applying this to science fiction, and they're like, well, then by that theory, then like Han Solo is like the oldest person in Star Wars, because the amount of time he would have traveled would have made him like, infinitely, older.
And unless he's using a warp bubble.
Unless it's a warp bubble, that is true. So, but yeah, so it like I said, it starts off, it does talk about the Big Bang Theory, and talks about quarks and how bosons are literally just like flying through the universe, and things had to literally cool down before anything could actually start grabbing onto each other and start forming anything, which is kind of crazy. It's like literally everything's just energy at first, and then as it cools down, oh well, now it starts to become stuff. So but yeah, so he talks about light, between galaxies. This was one of the other chapters that was interesting, between galaxies, and talking about how what could actually be between galaxies, and how most of us, most of the time we consider, oh well, it's whatever's in the galaxy that's the interesting stuff. Whatever's happening in between galaxies is nothing. There's nothing there between, and it's like, well, no, there's actually probably a lot of stuff there. So and then we start, he glosses over, he kind of has to gloss over everything, but he glosses over rogue planets, which I think is interesting as all hell. The fact that there may still be a ninth planet X in our solar system, but we still can't pinpoint
where it
thing.
Yep.
Yeah, but because of the way astromechanics works on all the other planets, our current solar system doesn't make sense unless there's something else out there.
Yeah.
So
we didn't touch on it, but the thing that I liked about when he said if you go back into time and you were actually able to see the beginning, you wouldn't see anything. It would just be white light in front of you. You'd just see a kind of this cloud, and you wouldn't be able to see your hand in front of your face because it'd just be pure light everywhere. And as it cools down, eventually things start, clearing out, and you're able to see a little bit more. But I thought that was really interesting that, if you go right back to the very beginning of it, you can't see anything. But as for in between, I love that we don't know what's going on. The cigar-shaped thing that was just went by our planet there the other. Oh, they're still fighting about what that was and how it was accelerating out of here. And they, was it radiation that moved it along, or was it the heating of the sun? Because it wasn't gravity that was moving it along. So,
as far as we could tell,
pretty sweet. So,
And when you think about, how big the universe is, it's like, even if, the amount of time, even if there are other sentient life forms out there, the chances of them finding us now are so infinitesimal. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Mandy, any thoughts? You're kind of quiet on this one.
Yeah, this is beyond me. So I like the idea that we might be Martians. That was pretty cool.
Neat.
Oh yeah,
yes, that's pretty cool.
That was cool. So he explained that Mars actually potentially could have housed life before Earth, and a collision or something happened where part of Mars came to Earth. That's awesome.
And little micro.
It'll be interesting if we can ever find any information to prove that one way or the other. So
that would blow people's minds.
Oh yeah.
Like there would almost be a collapse of religious belief in that we're from another planet and we're not from here. Like, that would blow people's minds. I know. Yeah, that would be. I would be fine being a Martian. That would explain a lot.
It's funny. I listened to a podcast called Weird Things, and they're constantly talking about space. And one of the guys on there has said something, and I have to agree with it. Yeah, if we did find other intelligent life out there, let's just go with that. If we did find other intelligent life out there, yes, it will be world changing. Yes. A lot of people are going to have to kind of come to grips with that. Mm-hmm. But in the end of the day, you still got to show up for work tomorrow morning. So it is going to affect life, but life for the most part is still going to keep going on, unless they land on the White House lawn and declare war. That's going to change things pretty rapidly. But otherwise, it's going to be like, all right, well, here's something new we have to get used to, or not, or completely bury our hand in the sand and be like, nope, never happened. Fake, all fake. So, fake news.
Yeah. And then there's the theory that it's already happened and they, it's
they passed.
All right, so let's talk about something that's also I find really interesting. Something that is in the realm of a lot of science fiction, but is true, at least as far as we can tell. We still can't 100% prove it, but dark matter. Once again, something that according to the way that we understand the universe works, the mathematics does not work unless there's this other thing.
Unknown form of matter.
Exactly. Yeah. And, it doesn't interact with, the state of matter that we know of, but without it, all of our calculations are thrown way off. Which is interesting in itself. Of course, antimatter is or dark matter, antimatter, a lot of people, will refer to it in science fiction, is always like, oh, well, you combine that with other stuff and causes explosions. But yeah, it's like, how do you, I don't know, maybe it's because of my job or whatever, or just thinking like from a business plan, but how do you how do you get a job where literally your job is trying to figure out how to prove something that may be unprovable? So
you have to be stubborn as hell.
Yeah.
Again, you get into the theories of things, and you get into the mathematics behind stuff. It's fascinating to me that, and there's actually a theory out there that one of our Planet 9 is actually made out of a dark matter, and that's why we can't find it. I don't know if it's true or not. But yeah, there's so many unknown, and there's a difference between antimatter, which is just the opposite of what our matter is, and then there is like your proton and electron just swap energies, which is awesome. Then there's this dark matter and dark energy, which is, we don't understand each of them because they follow their own rules and don't. We have no answer for it right now, and I think that's awesome because it doesn't interact with light, which I thought was pretty cool. If it did interact with light, then we could see it, but we can't even see it, which is pretty strange. So,
which, speaking of light, he does talk about how he discovered some of this stuff. Like, I'd heard this story before as well, but how he discovered ultraviolet and infrared by using a basically a thermometer in the different. Never would have crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty cool. That was pretty sweet how they figured that out. Yeah.
Using a prism to break them into the different things, and like, hey, let's see what temperature they're all at, and
sure enough, there's all the differences, and then, hey, there's nothing here. I want to see what, and sure, I can't see it, but it's hotter than what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something's wrong. So, yeah.
One of the other things he touched on that I also thought was really interesting is the I think I want to say it was gravity. He was also talking about gravity causing this, where the lensing in space. So we get this lensing effect. So we literally can see around things, and that's why there may be things out there that we literally can't see because it's lensed itself. So we're seeing around it to the space, behind it. So it's just like, well, what?
Yeah. It bends the light so it actually focuses, very similar to what our like a microscope.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. The other thing that I also like, and I don't remember if he goes into it into too much detail, but we can actually see how far away things are based on the redness of the light compared to what it should be, and that's actually how they calculate how far away something is this redness effect on the light. So, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I was talking to my boys. We have a solar system set up in their bedroom, and we were just going over everything. And there is a Pluto included, and I'll just every so often remind them, Pluto's not a planet, guys. Remember, it's of course it's way off scale. So Pluto's decent size compared to the rest of the other planets. I'm like, there are moons out there bigger than Pluto, guys. Yep. So, let's see. So dark matter, dark energy. Let's see here. Oh, he talks about, being round, and you were talking about, you already mentioned it, how nature prefers to be round when possible.
Yeah.
I like the boxes as cereal analogy. Like,
yes.
More cereal in a round box. And that's all I could think of. I'm like, how the fuck would you store a round box of cereal? I mean, I love that there's more in it, but like that would be a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because even then, like, you'd have to stack everything like a pyramid. Because if you just stacked it on top of each other, you'd still have a ton of wasted space.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think. I'm like, for my organizational mind and how I like things like lined up and no spaces in between, I'm like, that sucks. I don't like that at all.
But it is the best use of space for the inside, right?
Of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why pop cans are the way they are. It's it's a cylinder. It's not quite obviously a circle, but it's getting closer. So
yes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Invisible light, between the planets. Yeah. Well, okay. We'll talk about that kind of last. But was there anything else that kind of really stood out?
So something that's always stuck out for me is the electrons. It is fascinating to me that something that has matter acts like a wave, and they've proven this time and time again with different tests and things like that. But basically, we are made of, and he goes into this as well. We're made of the star stuff. We are made of the stuff that's out there, and basically we are the universe discovering itself. And I think that's kind of a cool analogy, and how we are just, we're made up of all these chemical compounds that are readily available out there. And yeah, this is just us trying to discover ourselves. And part of that is when you get into the quantum physics and you get into quantum theories and stuff like that, a lot of them depend on the person's expectation when they do the tests. So what they expect will happen, but if somebody else performs that same test and they expect something else to happen, that will in turn happen instead. So your own observation of the test is what's screwing everything up, and I think that's amazing that actually starts occurring. And part of that is the wave test for the electrons, and yeah, it's again exciting. It's see, cause like we deal with now we don't have. There's a detector up in Canada for neutrinos. It's actually down near Windsor, and it was exciting to hear about that one because at our plant we make antineutrinos from the decay of tritium, which is pretty cool. We can't detect them, but we know they're there. I deal with particles, beta particles, alpha particles, which beta particles are essentially just electrons. Alpha particles are basically just helium being shot out of nucleus of an atom. And there's so to hear him talking about all these things, it's like, yeah, I deal with those at work. I have detectors that way I can actually go and I see this stuff as in my detectors and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to know that they're out there as well. And so when he starts talking about how they detect them and stuff, I have some of those instruments. I use them every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like physics. I enjoyed physics in both college and high school. I've always sucked at chemistry, and so when he starts getting into some of that, I'm just like, yeah, I know it's a companion science and it's really heavily involved as well, but I'm just like, chemistry.
Yeah, he does the whole periodic table, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he goes through that.
The natural one, yeah. Yeah, he
The
goes
what?
natural. All of the natural elements. We've made some of our own, which are much heavier than what are naturally made. And it's almost like there's a competition to make the heaviest atom out there. They only last for microseconds, but they're like, hey, we made it. And then it's unstable, right? So it starts breaking down, trying to get back to a stable state.
Yeah. Which, at some point you're like, so does it count? I mean, I guess it technically does, but
they have a way of saying that it counts. And
I wonder if there's like a time limit, like it has to stay cohesive for, okay.
Yeah, there is.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it's fascinating how they do that. Basically bombard something with neutrons and, hey, what's going on? Yeah. If you want to get into all that, I can get into all that too. So at our plant, we create cobalt 60, which is we put cobalt 58 into the reactor. It absorbs 2 neutrons and becomes cobalt 60. when we pull that out, it is glowing hot. It is very radioactive, but they use it for treatments for medical purposes. So it's kind of cool that they pull these out of the reactor, we cut them all up, put them in flasks, ship them off to different facilities, and then they in turn turn these into things to sterilize medical equipment, or for cancer treatments, or there's a whole bunch of different things that they do with this stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
That is interesting.
The tritium. So tritium is and I think he talked about this in the book as well. So you have hydrogen, right? Mm-hmm. Hydrogen is just a proton with an electron around it. Deuterium is one proton and one neutron, and so one electron around it. Deuterium, so you have hydrogen, deuterium, and then tritium is the third. And you might have heard it from Spider-Man 3. It does not look like how they showed it in Spider-Man 3. It's just hydrogen, right? It's a heavier form of hydrogen because it has two neutrons attached to it. Mm-hmm. And once you get into this ratio where there's too many neutrons, it gets unstable, it gets radioactive. And so what happens is one of the neutrons will spontaneously turn into a proton and eject an electron, and that's what gives off the radiation of a beta particle. And so when that happens, it becomes helium-3. So it's two protons and a neutron. And so you have helium-3 out of that. But anyway, tritium used to be used.
You can tell he taught this for 4 years at the power plant, right? Like he taught this for 4 years.
So tritium was actually used in the exit lights. So your emergency exit lights that don't have any power to them. Usually those are lit up because of tritium. So if you actually start looking at them, you'll see that there are radioactive little signs on there, and it's because it's such a low level beta emitter that it won't actually penetrate your skin. So
I'm gonna have to go look at one now.
It's got to be one that has no power to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'll have to go look to even see.
You can buy tritium watches. So there's watches that you can buy, and they have no power source to light up. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's tritium that's lighting it up all the time. So
that's cool.
Science with Ray.
I know, right? And we have a new podcast.
Yep.
No, you don't want to hear that.
Let's see here. I'm just kind of looking through some of the other stuff that they were talking about. Of course, we've talked about the fact, we go into the planets, we go into the exoplanets, we go into, what's actually in between, the universes or whatever. And one of the things he was talking about is, given enough time, because the universe is expanding still, if you could flash forward, a couple thousand years in the future, like scientists would not even be able to see some of the stuff that they can see now because it would be so far away. So,
yeah. Well, and that makes you wonder what we've missed out on.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the time of the dinosaurs, what were they seeing in the sky that we won't be able to see because it's gone, right? So, and we would never know that it's already gone. So, sorry, Eugene.
No, that's crazy. I just, thinking about that. There's a lot of talk. Once again, going back to that podcast that talks a lot about science and a lot about space and stuff. Just the idea about, some of the exoplanets that could be out there, there could be a ton of crap out there that we just we're trying to get, okay, well, first off, we need to get to the next planet, to the planet next door. And then we've got to get to the galaxy next door. But it's there's a lot of stuff between us and even that we could still, explore and find and everything else. So
have you seen there are plans to get to Mercury?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Sorry, not Mercury, Venus. Mercury's way too hot to get to Venus. So Venus is still pretty hot too, But what they would do is in the atmosphere, there's a nice little comfort zone of around 75 to 80 some odd degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put a cloud city there,
Quinn is obsessed with this theory.
You could actually.
I have heard of this.
Yeah, so you could actually build Cloud City, right? From Star Wars, you could build that on Venus and hang out.
And Logan fight about this.
So how cool would that be that I live on Cloud City, man?
I just want to get I just want the human species to get off at least one rock. Let's at least get to two, and we'll keep moving. So
yeah, the only way that's going to happen, and I think, did he go in a little bit with this book? When astronauts see the Earth,
the overview effect.
The overview effect.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've talked about the overview effect on this podcast before. Or sorry, not this one, but on Epically Geeky. And it's one that fascinates me, and I wish every human would be able to get it. So it's the effect that astronauts have when they see Earth from orbit. So if they're either from the International Space Station or from the moon, when they look back at Earth and they see, how fragile it is, and
that there's no borders.
There's no borders. There's all these things that we fight about on Earth are all made up in our own head.
Oh yeah, it's all BS.
Yeah.
And if we could just get out of our own way and see what this really is all about, we'd kind of stick together. And
because he does mention in the book that when people hear all of this, they tend to feel really small and insignificant. But for him, it's the opposite. He feels very large and very included in the whole universe because
he knows what we're made of.
He knows what we're made of, and that it's all the same stuff in the universe.
Yeah.
I got that from the book.
Well, that was one of the last things I was going to bring up. So yeah, let's talk about that. How, like, when you think about that, which way does it take you? Does it take you to the, oh God, we're basically nothing? Just kind of, or are you more or less like, yeah, we're small, but we're still part of everything. Like it's.
I feel very small and insignificant, but there's a liberation that comes with that. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I feel small and insignificant, so the fuck am I worrying about? Like the universe is so old and so big that me worrying about, what I ate today or, things like my jeans won't do up, things like that. It doesn't matter really on the grand scheme of things. So why am I worrying about it? Why can't I just enjoy my speck of a life here and quit worrying about crap? So it does both.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on that. Yeah, it does make, like, I don't feel the whole insignificant part.
Mm-hmm.
But it does kind of like make you really register that, yeah, there's not really a lot of time.
No.
Like, it's not even a blink in the grand scheme of things. And it's just like, yeah, maybe I should be focused on doing stuff that I'm happy with.
Yeah, because over so fast when you take the big timeline.
I had a conversation with Quinn. I think I've talked about it on this podcast as well, or if not, it was in
mm-hmm.
the pre-show or something like that. Quinn came home a little while ago now. Mm-hmm. This is sometime last year, and he was in tears, and he was really upset. I'm like, dude, what's wrong? He's like, there's going to be 10 billion people on this planet sometime soon, and I'm just one. I'm insignificant. I have no meaning.
He's 10.
Dude, you're 10.
He's up.
You still have a lot of time to do stuff, dude.
So it got me talking about to him what I believe life is about. And I honestly believe that it is about enjoyment of this, what we call life, right? If more humans would actually allow ourselves to enjoy our life, and get rid of greed and get rid of borders and actually take a look at what we're all about, mm-hmm. and help each other out, because we always feel better when we're helping somebody out, and everyone needs to feel important. So if you can find the people that love you for who you are, and if you can enjoy your life, do the things that you want to do, but as long as you're not hurting anyone else or anything like that, just enjoy this thing. Well, like you said, we have so little time here. Just enjoy it, man. And I kind of got that through to Quinn, I think, about where, we're on this earth to enjoy what it is we have.
Mm-hmm.
And take
He
those
felt
small,
better.
He felt better. Yeah. Take those small moments and enjoy it, and just take it one day at a time, because that's all we got.
Yeah. He felt better.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. He's been better since. So he's
good. I'm glad to hear it.
A little weird. It was a little freaky that he's talking about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, as soon as you take life too seriously, then it's not fun anymore.
I mean, you could tell that Tyson has this sort of zest for life. Like he has all of this information, and it could do one of two things to you. It could like bog you down, or it could make you feel free. And you can tell the way he reads it and what he's written that it makes him
gets
feel
him
very
excited.
It gets him excited to feel free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mandy, how's this at you?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to be, I mean, Ray, even in listening to you talk about your work and everything, just to be that knowledgeable about something that you can like joyfully share it with other people, that's a big deal. And like, yeah, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson has figured life out, he's dialed it in. So it's inspiring in a lot of ways. I'm not ever going to wrap my mind around the physics or the math, but just,
I'm with you.
But that goes to prove that we all have our own talents, and we all have our own thing. And it goes back to a theory that I've had for a very long time. There are people in this world that are great at certain things. And if each person did their what they're really great at and what they love, then everything on Earth would just kind of like, it would keep moving on. If you'd had the Star Trek model, right? Those people that want to be in power, they go be captains of the ships. Then they have the civilians that are the bartenders, and they're just there to have fun. And then like there's so many different things. Like if everybody just,
if we all did what we enjoy, everything, we'd all take care of each other.
We would take care of each other.
Yeah.
And there's been time and again where they've proven that if shit hits the fan, and we're talking about alien invasion or nuclear war happens, whatever it is, it's not the diabolical future where it's not a dystopian future that we're looking at. We're actually looking at humans wanting to help each other out, and we'd actually be looking at people trying to assist others and bring them in and make a cohesive unit rather than pushing everybody away. So that gives me hope too.
I was just going to say if anyone else was going to jump in before I did. Yeah, on that topic, yeah, I mean, all you have to do is look after a natural disaster and see how many people come out of the woodwork to help each other. So, yeah, I'm 41 now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have a huge lasting impression on the rest of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that because I work at a school and I have kids, and who knows, maybe I help influence one of my boys who does something like that. Or what if I helped, even if I just keep the computers going, but the computers going allowed the kid that cures cancer to, keep doing what he's doing. And I'm just like, just fine. That's cool. If that's my small footnote in history, and I'm never getting credit for it. Sure, whatever, cool. That's fine.
Yep.
So
there's a saying at work that we have, and it's when somebody's taking their position a little bit too seriously, we kind of bring in this one out, and it's put your hand into a bucket of water and take it out. That's the impression that you're leaving in at work. Right? Like that's yes, you are an insignificant person, but you know what? You have a purpose. Take pride in the work that you do, and do it to the best of your ability. That's all we can ever ask. Yeah. And if you do that, then, and I know it sounds communist, or it sounds, I don't know,
socialist.
Socialist, maybe.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't we live in a socialist democracy over here in Canada?
Apparently.
Well, that's a naughty word here in Texas.
Oh, yes, we're well aware.
Yeah.
But if you do that and you enjoy it, then again, everything's going to be fine.
Everything will work out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there was one last thing that we didn't talk about.
I really liked this book.
Well, okay, so it's and again, it's something that it goes beyond the book. It goes into other theories that so the closer to a cell and the closer into an atom that you get, the more like a universe it looks.
Right.
So as you expand out, right, you look at a star and the way that things work there, the more it looks like an atom, and it's such a fascinating thing to me anyway. The closer in and the further out. Anyway, that's
the symmetry there. Yeah,
it's fascinating to me. So.
Yeah, because then you start having those Men in Black theories of where our entire universe is like
marble,
a marble for some alien kid or whatever. And he even brought up the idea that it's become more and more popular that what if all of this is literally just a simulation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he did say that too, and it's definitely a possibility.
So, because I mean, even though things tend to be pretty symmetrical, and what's funny is I've always kind of taken kind of counter stance. A lot of people are like, well, the universe is kind of chaotic. Well, no, not really. It's actually pretty organized. I mean, yeah, there's shit happens, stuff blows up and explodes and dies and everything else, but it kind of happens.
Some really stringent rules.
It happens for a reason. And a lot of people, and this is one of the ones that I kind of have counter with other people. A lot of people are like, freaking, Jupiter's just like, Jupiter's hell. Like they've got a massive hurricane that's been happening for hundreds of years. And I'm like, no, actually Earth is more the hell, because Jupiter works in a way that it formed and it just kept going. Nothing ever stopped it. I'm like, the worst that we have here is a hurricane forms and lasts for a couple of days and then it's completely ripped apart. And I'm just like, our planet is hell when it comes to sustaining stuff. It breaks stuff down pretty quickly, and it's like, no, listen, hey, this is how things are running.
Yeah.
And I do try to keep that idea that, a positive look for the future, and that, the planet's going to be here, whether we're here or not is a different story. But
yes,
yeah, I'm not worried about the Earth. I'm worried about whether or not we're going to be on the Earth much longer.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's going to correct us whether we want it to or not.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Earth always self-corrects, so it's just a matter of whether we get to enjoy it or not.
Yeah. And that's one of the other things, and that was one of the other things they talk about on that other podcast is, and I do like this idea that, and it's not that it goes against a lot of environmental ideology, but, a lot of people are like, well, we've changed the environment and, it's supposed to be this way. It's like, well, it's supposed to be that way at this time. But, if you go back even just a couple 100 years, it was even a lot different then. It was a lot different a couple thousands of years ago. So it's like, yeah, we're having an impact, but it is what it is. Like, let's not fuck stuff up. But on the other hand, the Earth's going to do what it wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either going to, adapt, or it's going to smack us down, one of the two. And probably a little bit of both. So
yeah, it's going to be a little bit of both.
Well, I think we're getting into the SmackDown part now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hitting some SmackDowns here. So, but okay. Well, was there anything else in the book in particular? Oh, one of the things I did love was I guess you could kind of look at it as being a little bit of an asshole comment, but because I'm reminded, because I was drinking hot cocoa before the show, was the comment about going into the shop and the guy saying, "Oh, well, there was cream in your hot cocoa." He's like, "Well,
that was fun."
Apparently physics works different in your restaurant, sir.
Yes.
Or someone forgot to put in the whipped cream, One of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
the one thing that he was describing that was kind of cool was the dying by a black hole, and how stretched out into this thin stream of particles, and that's just your legs as you continuously stretch, and
yeah, it's
pretty horrible way if you're able to survive it. But the other thing is we don't know what happens when you get to either the center of the black hole or the other side. We don't know what
exactly
that really is, and there's no way for us to tell because you can't send anything back once you go through it. So
yeah, that black holes are something else that just blow my mind. It's like, how do you have something so dense that not even light can escape this thing?
Yeah.
So
pretty sweet.
Yep. Yeah, this was definitely, like I said, this was a I really did enjoy the book. But this was definitely one of those that's like, okay, this was kind of heavy. Need to stop, listen to something else a little lighter. So, but doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to shy away from heavy science books like this either in the future. So we are the marginally geeky episode. So, has to be kind of geeky. So, if no one has anything else to add, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up the discussion. Our next book is, I did not get the author, but the next book we're reading is The Power. Jennifer put out there. Let me see here. What was the author's name on this one? Looking for it. Give me half a second. Can't find it. Wow, our conversation was kind of long here.
Yeah, it was a little long because Jen decided to take over.
Okay, that's what was the. Are you still so worried about that? The Power by Naomi Alderman. So, yeah, that will be our next book, and then we'll probably read For the Win by Corey. So we'll see.
No, it's okay.
No, it's okay. Well, well, that is it pretty much for our episode, ladies and gentlemen. Has anyone else been reading anything else? I have not had a chance to read anything else, so I'm like literally I've been listening to old stuff, going back through my my catalog and re-listening to a bunch of stuff. So I haven't read anything new. So what about you, Ray?
I am on chapter 20 for The Authorities, and I am loving it.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Yeah. His Max. I love Max. I think he's an awesome character.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know who wrote The Authorities, it's Mr. Scott Myers, Jeff Bridges. Who's the guy that reads it?
Luke Daniels.
Luke Daniels.
Sorry.
Not even close.
Yeah, well, Shut up.
Jeff Bridges. Okay, yeah.
I don't know where you went with that one. How you
it's-
got that lead?
Anyway, so yeah, Luke Daniels reads it. And again, he has so many different voices. I know what you're talking about, Eugene, about they're similar, but they are different.
Yes.
Different voices.
But didn't Scott say that he's narrated over 400 books, so eventually things are going to start
But you know what?
crossing over?
It just works.
Yeah.
And,
It does.
And you know what? I'm really enjoying this book. I'm curious to see where this whole story goes. I have my own theories, but we'll see where that goes. And yeah, if you get a chance, by all means, I'm going to be recommending it for the show at some point. So.
Oh yes, absolutely. I yes. Especially reading the other ones, I think it would work really well. So in this one, so. Chris, have you been reading anything else?
I just finished Armada by Ernest Cline.
And
I liked it up till the end.
really?
It just kind of fucking ends. It's like all of that, and it just, boom, it's done. And it's just all neatly tied, boop, together. I was like, oh, this could have been, you could have stretched it out to another. I think I would have preferred if it was at least 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's all this massive buildup and fights, and then all of a sudden it just ends. And it's like, oh, okay.
It's too easy.
Like I kept seeing how little left of the book I got, and there's still so much happening. And I'm just like, I hate when books do that. I hate when there's this massive buildup and there's so much happening, and then it just ends.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from. And I'm like you. When the climax happens so close to the end, it's like you get to this height, and then it's just like, okay, well, we've got to tie up these few couple of things and maybe a chapter or two, and it's just like done.
Yeah,
and so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that have done that. The Hunger Games did that. At the end, and PETA got one stupid paragraph. I was so mad about that. And then another series that I read called The Red Road by Moira Young. I loved it. And then that last book, it was just build up, and then it ended. And I was just like, I waited 1.5 years for that?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's a lunchbox letdown. Like, it was terrible.
I enjoyed Armada more the second time I read it. So if you do ever go back and reread it, you may enjoy it more. And
I liked it better than Ready Player One, only on the amount of references that were in Ready Player One. It's a lot more for somebody. I only got about maybe 50% of the references in Ready Player One. There were so many, and I'm not a gamer, and so I missed out on a lot of that. This one, it's just. There's only a few speckled in, and I got most of them. So I felt like it wasn't so reference heavy that you had to be this certain type of person growing up to get all of these references.
Right.
Yeah. So that was nice.
Good deal.
That was cool.
Mandy, what have you been reading anything else?
Yeah, I'm in a social justice book club, so it's been kind of heavy.
Oh my. Oh God.
Yeah. So Between the World and Me, and another book called Just Mercy about the death penalty. But I went to New Orleans and I reread A Confederacy of Dunces, and it's funnier the second time. Highly offensive, but it's worth rereading.
A Confederacy of Dunces. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have never heard of that.
Oh, it won the Pulitzer. The author had died before it was published. It's all set in New Orleans. Ignatius J. Reilly.
That kind of rings a bell, but I'll have to look it up. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to read anything else, so I'm finally kind of getting caught up. So we'll see here. I've got 2 credits, so I'm trying to finish this other series. It's getting kind of long in the tooth, but I'm about to start the 5th book in the series of 6. So I'm like, I've got to finish this. So it's interesting. Anyway, well, that is it for our show for the week, ladies and gentlemen, or for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. You can always find us at epicallygeeky.com. You can follow the site at Epically Geeky on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We don't have an episode of the Epically Geeky show coming out this week. We'll have one next week. We've just kind of got to shift the time around a little bit. But like I said, hopefully by the time that this drops, you should be able to go subscribe to the Sustainably Geeky show. And because of the way that we got it set up, there are actually at least 4 episodes out there for you, depending on when Jen gets me the information. For this newest one that was just recorded, there may even be 5, so we'll see. So at least one of the nice things is when when you start listening to it, is it won't just be, okay, well, that was nice. That was one episode, and I gotta wait. So you've got a little back catalog you can get started on, and you don't have to wait so long for the next episode. So where can we find you online, Ray?
Lake Life Artist on Instagram is the best spot. And yeah, Epically Geeky, as you said. I have joined in for the Sustainably Geeky for the latest episode. I got some questions in for Buzz on electric cars. I'm a car guy. I enjoy cars. I enjoy talking about cars. So it was kind of cool to bring that aspect to the podcast, because otherwise it was more of a economy, ecological thing, which is fine, and that's great, but there's other aspects to driving. So and then obviously here, and if you I promise I'm going to get some stuff up. I haven't yet, just because life has been throwing us a few curveballs for work, and I promise that I'm working on a few more things. I've got some paintings that are in my head that need to get out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Chris, where can we find you?
Here at Marginally Geeky, Epically Geeky, Sustainably Geeky. We just did an episode last night, which was super fun, and which is our longest episode thus far. And
Sorry.
No, I don't think even if you weren't there, I think he just would have. He's our guest Buzz is very, very passionate about electric vehicles, and then on Instagram at Cedar Birch Cottage.
Very cool. Mandy, where can we find you online?
On Twitter, Mandy Jo Shelton, but I'm kind of angry about the election, so maybe give it a few days.
A little salty?
Little salty. And I get political on Twitter, nowhere else. So Instagram, though, is Clover Press Books, and that's apolitical.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had to like your comment about something or other about posting. I voted stickers is cool, but posting I'm watching returns drunk is even better. Yeah. So I thought that was good. So as always, you can find me at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For everyone on the site, have a good night.